All right, go ahead, Khalid.
Yes, so I said that science, philosophy, and reason leads you to deism. It means that you have to believe in what most people would call God, or a deity that has the attributes of what most people would call God, Alpha and Omega. A being that has no beginning, no end. So a being like that has to be there. When you think about even philosophically or science, reason would tell you that as well. If we go with reason, for example, something cannot come from nothing. There is something, therefore there was never nothing. So something like a God has to be there. But I understand in different cultures they might call that being different names. So yeah, that's my.
It's interesting because you listed science, philosophy, and reason, and then you gave a very brief reason. You gave a very brief philosophy example, but you skipped the science. Hang on. You skipped the science one. You didn't give a.
Okay.
So I'm curious. 1 second. Yes, please point to what scientific theory or scientific establishment has ever ended in, therefore, some sort of God or creator is likely to exist.
So you have the singularity theorem by Stephen Hawking, and
Stephen Hawking was an atheist, so this won't be the one that ends in a God.
I'm not saying no, Jimmy. I'm not saying that he was atheist or he was not. I'm just saying that his theorem, singularity theorem by Sir Roger Penrose and Stephen Hawking. But you have the CCC model, you have the BGV theorem, you have the quantum tunneling by Alexander Vilenkin. So all of them, when you think about it, it can't just come from absolute nothing.
So you don't have an actual. So to be clear, you don't actually have a scientific theory that suggests the existence of a God. You believe, as I presume a layperson, because of the way you're presenting those ideas, you believe that the best conclusion of taking those into account is that a God would exist, despite the fact that none of those theories end with that conclusion. Correct?
No, but that's not what I'm saying.
Hang on. I understand the rest of your argument, but is it correct or incorrect to say that none of the scientific theories or hypotheses presented here actually end with the conclusion that a God or a creator must exist?
So yes, but if I could end this sentence, so for example,
Khalid, I will let you get to it. I promise.
Yeah, okay.
I just want to point out that you have called in and said that 3 categories get you there: science, philosophy, and reason.
Okay.
By answering that was correct, we need to put down the science one. You can say that science was somehow a part of one of the other 2, but science does not point to a God. Can we agree on that?
A God, I would not agree on that, and I will be happy to elaborate
theism
on
or deism of any type. There is no science that has there's no scientific theory that concludes a deistic God or any sort of theistic proposition is correct. Now, if you want to include in one of your philosophy arguments or your reasoned arguments that this from science shows an absence here or whatever, go for it. But I want to be, it's being a little bit pedantic and hyper scrutinizing your phrasing here. But I would like to point out that it is not correct to say that science points to a God exists on your own admissions here. Now, go ahead with the rest of your argument now that we have that out of the way.
Okay, so Jimmy, so I would say that you can I would go as far as to say you can pick any hypothesis or scientific theories. You can take all of them points to some sort of of this being that you would have to apply some attributes of a creator to that hypothesis or that theory. So for example, if we go with just an example, okay, you can go with, I will let you pick any theory or hypothesis later on, but just to give you an example. So they say that in singularity theorem, what we're talking about the observable universe. We're not talking about the whole universe. So even if we go with the inflation theory by Alan Guth, you're talking about, with the multiverse, you would have to apply some attributes of God to that multiverse. So, for example, you refuse to call it God. You're just calling it a multiverse. That multiverse has to have no beginning, no end. it has to be infinitely large.
Khalid, Khalid, stop. Because you're going off now on multiverse. The multiverse hasn't actually been established to exist. This isn't a scientific theory. Hang on.
That's an example, Jimmy.
So what you are trying to get at when you're saying you have to come up with some attribute of blah, 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 there has to be a moment of origin. It would seem like. It would seem. However, one of the ones that you're saying, it has to have been created, or one of the ones people like to say is the Big Bang, something had to cause the Big Bang. That hasn't been established either. Because as far as this whole cause and effect thing seems to be a quality of, hang on, do not interrupt me.
Jesus Christ, dude, shut up.
Let me finish. It seems to be a quality of the universe. We cannot say that it is a quality of, for example, the singularity. In fact, the singularity, if that is the correct hypothesis, appears to break physics, laws of physics and all kinds of things in many ways. So not only would it not be the case that we can say the universe as it is now has the same rules as the universe before in the form of the singularity, we can actually point to things to say if the singularity theory is correct, it didn't have the same laws. It didn't behave the same way. So already you're pulling out this one and just trying to say it has to have an attribute of a God, as though to say something must have an origin means something has to have an originator, a creator, an actual person, a thinking mind. None of that has been established.
Yeah, can I go on?
I'm sure you will.
It's nice of you to ask, but yes.
So now it's actually kind of raised that you mentioned a very interesting point there. You say that at the singularity, even at the center of a black hole, the laws of physics actually breaks down. That's actually true. But if we go with that now, how can I ever or anyone then bring a scientific, evidence for you? If the laws of nature breaks down at singularity, then how can you ask for scientific evidence for God?
So, first of all, Khalid, the fact that you can't do it is an admission on your part. It's not a problem with science, and it's not a problem with our epistemology. You've just admitted you can't present the evidence. That's not a problem with science or our view. That's a problem with you accepting something for which you can't present evidence.
And a basis which you weren't disagreeing with. You actually were affirming before you presented it. So correct. As Matt is famous for saying on this show, and I've been recently copy and pasting his answers because it sounds better than my version, deism is unprovable. It's undetectable. You can't. It's impossible to establish deism. And you just laid out and affirmed the basis for which that is true.
And the last thing that I'll interject with before I let you talk again, because I know you're going to want to, is that it's one thing to say, hey, when we look at, the origins of the universe, when we look at the best models, it leads us to a number of things that have properties that are consistent with what some people would say is God. And yet the problem is there's been no demonstration that there is any such God with those properties. And if there is something with those properties at the foundation, that doesn't mean it's a God. It's timeless, it's the beginning. Yes, even if that were the case, that there's something timeless at the beginning, that doesn't make it a thinking agent. It doesn't make it an agent with purpose or intent. It doesn't make it a creator or a God as a creative force. You're simply saying, you might as well say, hey, the book says God was at the beginning, and there's a beginning, so that's a characteristic that's compatible with God. It's not enough to say that there are elements that are consistent with what people have called God, or more accurately, that some people have described God in ways that are consistent with certain features. You have to
Mm,
show that the specific features, including agency, that make for a thinking being as a god, that those are essential to the origin as well.
yeah, but Matt, specific. It's not enough to point for a specific god, maybe, but not a deistic god. A deistic god.
It's
It
not
does
enough to point
prove a
to any
deistic
god. It's not enough to point to any god. A deistic god is undetectable. A deistic god does not interact with reality in any detectable way. So if you're claiming to detect the indetectable, then you're now unreasonable.
So you're saying that? Well, I'm not talking about a specific god. I'm just talking about a creator, or
What are
just
the
a
what are the
deistic god.
list for me?
No, but
List
even
for
a
me.
thinking agency. I'm
List
not
for
finished.
me.
I'm not
List
finished.
for me. I don't give a shit if you're finished. I've been quiet. List for me.
But I let you finish. I let you finish. Wait,
Shut
fair
the
enough?
fuck up and list for me now the features of the God you're saying you can demonstrate. Nate, give me the qualities of that God.
Why are you asking me to why are you asking me to stay quiet when why
And now I muted you, and I'm going to
Okay,
explain it
now-
to you,
yeah.
Khalid. I'll explain it to him, and we'll let him back on, because maybe it's your first time, maybe you haven't been here, and I'm trying to be more zen or whatever. I'm trying to be more chill. We've been doing this a long time. When you make a claim or you make a statement, and then you try to go on for more, we stop you at the claim that we don't need to go past. As sad as it is, as much as people wish it wasn't, there is not a quality of platform in this show. You will stick to the questions that you are asked, and if you try to go on in a different direction, you're gonna be stopped, you're gonna be intercepted, and we're going to get it back in that direction. If that is something you can handle, we'll continue the conversation and we'll go on. If it is not, then we'll just move on. It's fine. You don't have to be here if you feel that's a conversation you're not going to stick into. But you do have to stick to the questions, and you don't get to make a point and then try to move on into something else, especially when people try to over-explain their points. We've heard them a million times. We don't need them reiterated for the millionth and first.
All I need.
One. Yep.
All I need is for you to list some of the features of the God you're talking about. That's it. You can either do it or you can't. Give me some features.
Khalid, you're unmuted. Did you mute him in? Sorry. You're unmuted now. I think we both muted, one on the board and one in the PC. We should be able to hear you now, Khalid.
Yeah, that's my bad.
yes.
All right.
Yeah. So
So,
features I would
list-
say no beginning, no end.
Any others?
Alpha, omega, no beginning, no end.
Okay, alpha is the beginning and omega is the end. So you can't equate alpha and omega with no beginning, no end. You're just quoting some Bible crap. Alpha and omega don't have meaning as far as features of something. So the features of the God. Let me finish my fucking sentence. The features of the God that you're advocating for, so far you've given me, it doesn't have a beginning or an end. What are the features?
Okay. Why do you need more? Let's start with this. You asked for, I give you two.
Okay. All right. Listen to me very carefully. Even if there was
Okay.
something that had no beginning and no end, you have no way of demonstrating that it doesn't have an end. But even if it did, that doesn't make it a God. It makes it something with no beginning and no end. A God has some set of features that go beyond just, oh, there's something that doesn't end. You know what else doesn't end and doesn't begin? The set of integers, the set of whole numbers, that doesn't begin and doesn't end. Is that God? Is that God?
Matt, that's your God.
Is the set of fucking integers God? Yes or no?
A deistic God.
Is the set of integer? Is the set of fucking positive and negative whole numbers? Is that set, which has no beginning and no end, is it God?
I give you two. I can give you
Yes
more.
or fucking no, is it God?
Yes, a lot of people would call you God. Why do you have a problem? If somebody calls that God, why do you have a problem?
I don't have a problem, you dumb motherfucker. I'm just asking you to answer yes or no so we can get on to the next point.
He left.
Good. Goodbye.
Yeah. Khalid, you are...
Why do you have a problem if somebody says that that's God? I don't. If you would answer the fucking question, we could have moved on to the next thing.
And
but you won't.
It's literally the back to the corner, realizes he's losing, won't answer, won't actually. It's like what politicians do. And it's really sad because this is how people are modeling, not just in politics, but across debates and across conversations people are having, modeling having conversations. You don't answer the question you are asked. You answer the question you want to answer, or you answer the version of it that makes you sound defensible. And it was fucking hilarious. I don't know if you heard it in there, Matt, but as you were breaking it down and asking him, he then also tried to say, I can give you more qualities if you want, after moments before yelling about, why are you asking for more qualities? Why don't those qualities work?
I'm just, look, I'm pretty much done apologizing for calling people out for being absolutely shitty in conversation. If I call you a dumb motherfucker because you were shitty in conversation, unless somebody can demonstrate that you didn't deserve it, you absolutely fucking deserved it. Because we're sitting here trying to get to the core of what is it that you believe, why do you believe it, and why should anybody else believe it? And so your thing is, if you follow back quantum mechanics to this, you'll get to something that has no beginning and no end. And that sounds a little bit like a God. Okay, what are the features of this God? Well, it has no beginning and no end. Okay, here's something else that has no beginning and no end. Is that God? The obvious answer is no. But if you want to go with yes and say that the set of whole numbers is God, okay, cool. Your God is not anything I'm remotely interested in. It doesn't have any of the features of anything that anybody would ever really go down and say is a God. It is a waste of time for Jimmy and myself and other people to sit here and debate whether or not numbers count as God. It's beyond stupid. But if you want to say that that's it, you don't get to pretend like I have a problem with you saying it. I have a problem with you not answering the question. I have a problem with you obviously being trapped. I have a problem with you claiming to detect the undetectable. I have a problem with you saying, oh, there must be something. It's the alpha and omega. That's a nonsense phrase.
After saying it's not the alpha and omega. Yeah.
And then you're like, well, I can give you other properties. You should have done that a minute ago. When I asked for more and you're like, why can't that be enough? And then I explained to you why that can't be enough. And as soon as you understood that you were obviously in way the fuck over your head.
Yeah.
Oh, then you want to give me another one. If you just answer the questions, theists, please, first of all, be honest. I don't even care if you bring your A game anymore. Just be fucking honest. If we've gone to all the trouble to engage and have a conversation and we ask a question, just answer the question. If the answer is, I don't know, then the answer is, I know. If the answer is, Matt, you're too stupid to have this conversation, then at least that's honest.
Hey, it's Jimmy Snow here. I'm the executive producer on the line with a fun fact. Did you know 100% of the hosts of this channel enjoy eating? It's true. And if you would like to help contribute to their ongoing addiction, you can do so by going over to Patreon or becoming a channel member. There are show-specific, host-specific tiers. Those are awesome. But also, you can leave a super thanks with a special little highlighted comment. You can like, comment, and subscribe. All of those will help fill our whittle bellies. By the way, check out some of this content over here. Algorithm, what next?